Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat podcast. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. Everybody knows I love to visit with any energy experts. And I mean, today is absolutely no exception. Today, I have the Keith Stelter, and he is a LinkedIn live guy. And I'll have to give you just a little bit of background here. Keith and I this is our first time of really talking face to face on Zoom. Keith and I were also on the advisory board for the Oil and Gas Workers Association with Matt Coday, and we love them. They are actually great. We love being on that. And I think we have 200 and some odd 60 joint LinkedIn connections together. Welcome, Keith, and I can't wait to hear about what's going on.
Thanks for having me, Stu. Really appreciate it. Excited to be here. It's been a while since I've been on somebody else's show, so I'm looking forward to having a chance just to relax and not have to lead the way. So I know what you're going through.
We just have so much fun. It's pathetic. But when we sit back and take a look, I have to give a shout out to you because your podcast or live LinkedIn event that you have it on LinkedIn as well as YouTube, it was phenomenal this week. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Because I needed to hear what Brandon was saying.
So it actually kind of goes back a little bit before the guest was on. I was actually having a meeting with the COO of Hibernia, John Blevins, and we were just talking back and forth. We're LinkedIn guys, and he likes posting about certain scriptures, and he expresses his faith quite openly. And I like to shout out God and give thanks to. I did a nice little post of thank God sending me my wife and where I'm at the other day, and we were just discussing, why don't more people do that? Like, we know a lot of people kind of feel the same way. And John, when he posts, he gets messages saying, I wish I could do the same thing. So we decided we were going to bring him on the show and discuss oil, God, and West Texas. It was going to be a nice little chat. And then he had to cancel just a week before the event. We had like 300 people signed up, unfortunately, and he couldn't give me any details, but I had heard rumor that his company might be for sale. So I basically texted him and I was like, is this family or is there something else involved? And he just kind of gave me a nice thumbs up and no answer one way or another. And sure enough, I found a replacement for him. A great guy named Brandon Willis was planning on bringing him on the show in July or August to talk about construction. And we decided, okay, let's stick with, we were originally going to talk about God, and Brandon's a guy of faith too. So let's stick to it. Let's call it construction and God, and or your faith, or however we wanted to kind of express it. Didn't want to, just wanted to be open about it. Right. And so that Tuesday it came. Also, the announcement for Hibernia, John Blevins, they got sold for a few $1 billion. So congratulate to him. And then a great, Brandon, without missing a beat, filled in. And, we talked for a few different subjects, oil and gas, West Texas, for about, I think, 40 minutes. But then the last, I would guess 35 minutes was, he had a great story about how he got sick. Great in shape guy. Here's a guy, 6'1", 235 pounds, and gets sick to the point where he's down to 138 pounds, about to die. And through the power of prayer and a few other things, working with his community, his father, their church, he gets through it all, and now is doing well, and he's working for ExxonMobil. He's their construction manager up there, and we're kind of working together. So it was a show, kind of a lot of, we wanted to talk about construction. We wanted to make sure, that it's okay to, this is in my opinion, the oil and gas industry is a pretty conservative industry. So there shouldn't really be any fear of talking like that. And I think as a society, we've kind of gotten away from it. I noticed when I'm originally from Canada, and when I came down in 2006, I noticed people didn't really talk about that. It was very taboo, politics and religion. And in Canada, everybody always, that's what they wanted to, at least at that time. We weren't scared to offend anybody. And I think we're in some of the messes we are today because we didn't have some discussions, and some people, I don't know, maybe not, you know, too afraid to be offended, and some are just not in the know.
I'll tell you what, you just hit me about the eyes and face on that one, and a shovel to the forehead, because I don't do it nearly as much as I should. And in the past, I'd help the homeless and do all those kind of things, but with the things that are going on in our country right now, I love the oil patch. I love the energy area where you go out to a rig, and I mean the guys are about as cool as it gets. I mean, they're in the doghouse, they're working hard, they are salt of the earth people. And that's what this country needs is dads. I think the number one problem we have in this country is the dads are not in the house.
Well, at
I mean,
least not
God,
being, not
yeah,
setting a good example. You know what
right,
I mean? Like they're at work, and my dad was away, but you always kind of knew dad was going to be there, when he really needed to be. And he set that example of working hard. And, men in just this country have kind of abdicated, maybe not, willingly. Like some
right,
people just have, too many people have said, we don't really need you. Like, okay. And now it's kind of gotten to the point where, okay, it turns out, everybody does kind of have a little bit of a role to play. And everything was kind of set up and working well for hundreds of years, kind of for a reason.
right. And that's our founding fathers were here for a reason, and that was for the freedom of religion. And you sit back and go that for somebody to write the Declaration of Independence and everything else, Keith, I could have never written anything that smart. I mean,
And then you go back, they were very young. Like these guys were not 50-year-old men writing this. It was most of them were in their 20s.
yeah,
And, the resources that we take for granted were not there. And the foresight that they showed. So, as an immigrant, I've been a citizen for about 2.5 years now. Reason is just because America truly is the greatest country in the world. When you think there's 193 countries, and you think of, well, who really won World War II, put a man on the moon, the microchip, you know,
right.
manufactured the automobile mass, really explored energy, oil and gas. You'd think that would be spread out over all those countries, and it
It's
really
amazing.
isn't. Like, not to say that there hasn't been contributions throughout the world, there is, but the fact that America takes such a leadership role in so many areas is just a mind-boggling fact.
It is. What brought you to from Canada to here, Keith? Because I love Canada.
So I always grew up, I loved football actually more than hockey. So, and the cold isn't all that fun. And so I always kind of, watched a few American movies, and you have this picture in your mind. I wanted to get to Texas, and just, got to Texas, met my wife. She's from Cleburne, Texas. Shout out to my wife, Erin. And
Nice.
so that kind of all worked out for the best, and still working out here in West Texas, which is an even better part of Texas, in my
It
opinion,
is.
but that's just me.
So if you're in the Midland, Odessa, you're in the Odessa section. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I love West Texas. Right now I'm sitting in Abilene. So it's not quite West Texas, but we're West Texas wannabes right now.
You're West Texas enough. It's the people, really, like, especially during COVID. This My kids didn't have to wear masks during COVID. They got to go to school. They played with their friends. It There wasn't a big panic. People
Right.
looked at this, and if you had questions, you weren't the devil for asking them.
Yeah.
It really was very level-headed, and I'll always remember that. Like my kids are not behind in school at all, just because they were in West Texas, and I will always remember and be grateful for that.
Oh yeah, there's so much across the country that have had setbacks and can't read. I was watching the news. I think yesterday they had so many people Fs that can't even read or anything else. What do you do in West Texas? Everybody else is in oil and gas, and the traffic is horrible in Midland in that
Well, compared to
area.
Houston, it's
Yeah.
beautiful compared to Houston or
Good point.
Dallas. So I don't mind the traffic here, but so I was a wireline guy for over 20 years. Worked for mainly Schlumberger and Weatherford, but
Nice.
during COVID, when all that shut everything down, I found myself looking for a job. I became one of these LinkedIn guys. However, that happened, it kind of happened. I,
Right.
I wanted to make my own opportunity and just didn't want to wait for the phone to ring. So
Right.
I took a few chances, and for whatever reason, it turned out. And now I'm actually no longer really in the upstream. I'm in the midstream kind of. It
Nice.
still has upstream kind of work in construction. So I work for a company, 413
Right.
Mechanical, and we do construction, steel fabrication, maintenance. So we'll build you, a pipeline. We'll clear it. We'll assemble it.
Nice.
We'll build the meter runs, the launchers, receivers. We'll build you an SWD. We'll send
Nice.
guys out to help you assemble your site. We got welders. From skids to platforms, stairs.
Nice.
It's a
That's
nice little
critical.
company. They started up in North Dakota. Great guy, Harold Reimer, and he's the one that brought me on. And they didn't have any kind of real presence. They've done a couple little jobs previous in the Permian,
Right.
but no real presence. Now we got a shop in South Odessa, our own
Nice.
paint booth, and just trying to grow it from here. It's still pretty early on, 5 months into this, but we've done some work and been able to bid some pretty big
Now,
pipelines at this point. So
are you
I
looking to are so just as an EMP side of things, are you going to the rigs before they get there and bringing the pipe to the main midstream lines, or
so we could do
what
the
do-
earthwork to build a pad site,
oh,
for
nice.
the ENP drill, so you need that all nice bleached out, flattened.
Right.
We can do that. And then once you've drilled it and completed it and you have your well there, if you need a battery or something, after
Nice.
that, we're the guys you call to pipe it all up and weld it together and make the nice little concrete pad or the berms or containment and the
Nice.
gathering lines. We can set that all up. So yeah, we're kind of all parts of the life of it. But I would say predominantly, once the well's completed is where we kind of shine a little bit more.
Oh, nice. So, after the frack crews and all that, what are some trends that you're seeing? Because over the last couple of years, the costs have gone through the roof for metal. The supply chain. How's that holding up on your end of the stick?
It's fluctuates in my opinion. Like there was a time last year where everything steel was going through the roof and then it
Right.
came back, right? Came back down. Availability is big, depends on,
Right.
especially items I think are still hard to find. However, I believe, your basic stuff is caught up to a certain
Right.
extent. And if you look hard enough and there's enough competition out there, like you can that's my feelings on it,
Right.
that it's caught up. Uh, and activity is dipping a little bit as far as on the drilling side, only
Right.
because the rigs are drilling so fast now that you
Right.
don't need as many drilling rigs, right? The footage that
Right.
they're drilling, I think, is in excess of 2014. A great guy to talk about that is David Gibson.
Yep.
But at the same time, okay, the footage that the drilling rigs, you don't need as many drilling rigs, but you still need the facilities, you still need the gathering lines for all those sites. And that, capacity is still a pretty big issue in the
Yep.
Permian,
For the
pipeline capacities.
for the
So
takeaways.
for all the
Right.
takeaways, especially gas, a little bit more up to date on the gas part, but there was no work pretty much done during 2020, and that set a lot of capacity back. So a lot of it is getting done now, and low gas prices is kind of maybe hindering on the gas side, but
Yeah.
natural gas, but I think there's so much catch up to do from before. I think that'll stay a little steady. Oil is definitely, you know, thriving in a lot of places. So
Right.
it's
Um, what do you see, Keith, as the bids? Because you're right in the middle of all this. You're going to be in the middle of the bids, the EMP operators out there, and I'm assuming you work with the big boys and the medium boys, and you don't care if they got a PO, you'll go to work with them, right? So
sure.
how do you feel that it's going right now in the Permian? Do you feel that because everything I'm reading, the Permian is here to stay, and the new technology and everything else, you hear one side of it is saying that all the good rock is taken and gone. Then you hear other guys saying it's going to be here forever. What are your thoughts on the Permian area?
I think it'll continue for a long time coming. Right now, I think it's steady. It's not exactly booming. And with some of the acquisitions, there's still obviously acreage to be recovered.
Right.
I, as a guy who was in the Barnett years and years ago,
Right.
I saw a few seismic surveys while they would do seismic while they were doing
Right.
fracks. And I'll tell you something, the way they were doing the fracks, and to me, I would have to see some data. The way they do it, there's still lots of stuff that can be recompleted because, in my
Oh yeah.
opinion, they do way too long of sections and they leave so much behind. They try and break the clusters down with only a couple holes here and a couple holes, but it's the first two clusters that always take the water, and the last ones barely take anything. Like I've watched the seismic, watched it move, and it's just like, oh, okay, like you didn't kind of get it
Yeah.
all the way, in my opinion. Now, I haven't seen a seismic in a long time. I could be completely
Right.
off base. They could have it all dialed in where they're draining as fast as they can be. But my feeling is it's got a long way to go.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when you sit back and look at that new technology, or you look at going back and reworking old wells, that seems like it'd be a heck of a lot cheaper to go back in and try to remuscle in, rework a well. Is that a
Yep,
fair statement?
definitely. I I think that's a heck of a plan for some of these guys, maybe, and you don't need the upfront drilling costs. And I think there's so much we could do with all, these wells that have already been drilled, even geothermal like opportunities and stuff too, right? Once the well's already drilled, that's usually the biggest cost for
Yeah.
geothermal opportunities. And I'm not against green or other energies. I'm an oil and gas guy, but if the population is growing, we need more energy, not less of it.
Yeah.
So why not?
I like the way you think, because we need all the energy we can get. And I don't care if it's wind, solar, nuclear, oil and gas. Let's all get along together. But in order to be sustainable, you have to survive without tax credits.
I agree.
So that kind of leaves it a little limited there.
I
So
think with enough need and enough ingenuity, anything can survive. Like this is, like I said, this is the
yeah,
country that put a man on the moon. Like allow enough people time to figure it out,
I,
they'll figure out a way.
I like your positive attitude, man. Now, you also have a workout Wednesday. What's that about?
So there's lots of happy hours, there's lots of different activities you can do out in the
Right.
Permian and lots of any places. I'm getting older, having all these drinks every night, and that's just wearing me down. So I was like, hey, lots of people work out. You want to just get together
Yep.
and we can have a good workout. We can barely lift any weights. It's just an excuse to kind of get together. And I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
train people, and it's one of my hobbies, always, staying in shape. So I started this thing, Workout Wednesdays, over in Odessa. And it's had a few people attend, and it's had times where nobody attends. But it works. I got a shout out to Robert Gomez. He's got a great
Okay.
running group over in Midland on Thursdays. He'll get from 20 to 40 people showing up. So people definitely love running way more than they love lifting their weights. But it
I'm
was
a
just just
yeah.
something other than drinking all the time.
Well, I respect that, and I've always enjoyed watching your LinkedIn posts or anything else of Workout Wednesdays. And it's like, I think I even commented one time, like, you're looking a little peaked or something. I can't remember, but it was, your arms are about as big as my head. And, it's kind of
Just a
fun.
regular old guy. I like working out. I grew up on a farm. I'm a little stocky, as my wife likes to remind me, but I don't know. I'm not giant by any means. So, but I appreciate you checking them out, man. Checking out the posts, and it
Oh,
I tried. LinkedIn was really good to me. The one I'm probably most proud of is the Pay It Forward Fridays, where I try and help, people looking for
yep,
jobs. Uh, I got this platform. Why not raise the profile of someone looking? And
right.
it's hit and miss. Sometimes a lot of people will support it, and then sometimes I guess people are busy or whatever. But a lot of people have found jobs that way, and
Yep.
anything I can do to help. I've been pretty blessed with what's happened to me, so I figured why not.
One of the cool things I was seeing, we were on a Zoom call this week with the Oil and Gas Workers Association, and I just got roped in by Matt Coday, and I love him. He is a nut. Of course, let's not tell him that. Of course, he may see this. So,
Maybe we should tell him that we just gotta focus some of his energy sometimes. Very enthusiastic.
yeah,
I just don't want him to attack you. We're trying to win people over here. So,
you bet. And so he is absolutely. I love watching him either at the legislature, or I was very very thrilled to have him on when the Ohio train wreck happened. And I mean, he ran up there delivering goods from the oil field. I mean, that was a lot of fun, and it's despicable. The folks up in Ohio are not getting treated well, but that shows the heart of the oil field folks giving the supplies and having him run them up there. Uh,
yep. No, we worked together on that, and it was a great little initiative. That proud that we were able to. My family sent some money.
Yep.
We wanted to help, and it was great. I think they got 2 trips out of the thing. It wasn't as much as I kind of hoped sometimes, but I think
Right.
any little bit helps,
Oh,
right?
when those people are in a bad way for a long time, so everything that they get is going to be important. Keith, what's coming around the corner for you? I want to ask you two things. First thing, what's coming around the corner for you in the next like few months?
So, do you plan on getting John Blevins back on the show here?
Yep.
I am working with a few folks. I'm hoping to have I've had some educational live streams
Right.
where we've done compression, we've done leadership. I've had a great guy, I've had a Top Gun instructor on with,
Oh,
an
nice.
former NFL lineman, Marcus Ogden, and some corporate trainers too, talking about leadership. That was actually a pretty cool event. So I've been pretty blessed. But John Blevins gonna come on. I'm working on with some folks to come on and talk about crude oil marketing. Like what is crude oil marketing, right?
Nice.
Uh, Come later this fall, I'll be doing all the interviews at the Permian Basin International Oil Show. The
Nice.
largest oil show in North America. So thanks for them. I did it 2 years ago. Was up in the booth there, just kind of one person after another, getting that on LinkedIn. We had a few live moments, and when we could get the internet to work, and it really was one of the first times. I had done something like that. Uh, Sky High for Kids. We're hopefully attend that banquet again. Last year, I donated my hair.
Right.
We raised a bunch of money for them on that. So,
Isn't that cool? JP, I love JP. And I mean, you and JP were just going back and forth about your hair. I was like, oh, and then you got people like me with flesh for a color here. You guys are rock stars.
well, Petra Reyes, shout out to her. Her goal is to raise $40,000 to cut her hair. She's a kind of
Wow.
a somewhat of a celebrity in this little area, so I think she could do it. She's a very well connected
You had a
saleswoman out here.
bunch. You had a
Yeah,
bunch of money. How much was your haircut?
mine was 13,000. JP's was just under 13, and a few others. I think total we raised 35,000 between
Nice.
all of us that did it. So yeah,
That is cool. So you sold more, or you got more income than JP.
that night. So I considered the stopping point once we cut our hair, because that's when I stopped asking people for money.
Right.
At that point, I was leading. However, now there's the controversy with JP. The next day, he kept getting some donations because he offered to shave his beard or something. So then he did officially
Oh,
pass me the next day, but I didn't. I didn't stop at then. But if you go back to the video at the
right.
banquet, the official person who raised the most and had the
That was
number
you.
one spot was me. So you can. I'm
I
sure
can't.
JP
I
got
need to
his
have both of you
too.
on here so we can have a slugfest. And I get so
Sure.
tickled that I'll tell you one real quick thing on JP. How cool is it that he's taken the crew where it is now and
Very,
having
very
his.
cool.
I am so happy for him and his little family. It is so fun to see what he's doing for the oil and gas industry. That is just cool.
And it's educating people about networking, which to me, if I could go back and tell my younger self, one
Right.
thing, it would be to network more. Like I was an operations guy, I was always busy. I was just like, oh, I
Right.
don't have time to do that. I just want to get home to the family or something. Not to say that the family's not the most important, but I should have taken a few times at lunch and a few other
Right.
event, times and went and expanded my network. Now LinkedIn's helped me kind of accelerate. I've probably
Right.
done way more than I probably could have normally without it. So thankful for that. But yeah, no, he's done a great job getting out there, getting people together in a very
Right.
positive light.
I'll tell you what, we've got about 2 more minutes, and I just really appreciate you and your thought leadership. And I've been a stalker, watching everything you got going on, looking at your stuff and everything else. So congrats to you. And you don't realize what impact you have on being positive, on being the weightlifter and all those kind of things. So I'm looking forward to visit with you again in the future. And again, how do
I'll come
people get
back
a hold of you?
anytime. This was great.
How do people get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is look me up, Keith Stelter on LinkedIn. That's basically the easiest. Giving out my phone number here or my email address. Like, let's start with LinkedIn, go from there, and you know, you'll get me. You're not gonna have to wait 4 days for a response if you got something, a legitimate contact here. I'm on it constantly. So I'm the first one that pops up. There are other Keith Stelters on there, but it's KEITHSTELTER. There's only one in West Texas that I know of. So
That sounds great.
that's usually the best way to find me and reach out. And I'd love to connect with anybody out there who wants to connect with me.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your time.